For us, the GPD Win 4 2024 is the first handheld gaming PC we have tried with the brand new AMD Ryzen 7 8840U processor. Let's find out how it compares with the 2023 model and 7840U series as we unbox, check out the features, run a bunch of benchmarks and play some games and emulators. First out of the box we have a screen protector which you can apply to the Win 4. Next we have the GPD Win 4 2024 itself. We will check it out in more detail in a moment. Underneath there is a user guide which is in Chinese and English languages. Inside the box there is a USB Type-C charge cable, a lanyard and a USB Type-C to Type-A adapter. And on the other side of the box is a USB charger. We will include the correct adapter for your country. The GPD Win 4 2024 measures around 8.6 by 3.6 by 1.1 inches and weighs 598 grams. It is available in two colours, black and white. On the front we have a 6-inch H IPS touchscreen display which supports up to 1920 by 1080 and 40 and 60 Hz refresh rate. The display slides up to reveal the QWERTY keyboard. It has a white backlight which can be switched off. The keyboard keys are quite small. You would not be able to use it like a normal desktop style keyboard. It's more of a thumb or finger typing usage. It's useful for brief typing such as emails, Discord chat, web browsing, etc. On either side of the handheld we have dual analog sticks, a D-pad, fingerprint scanner, game buttons and an optical finger mouse. The left side has a micro SD card reader and a switch to change between mouse and controller mode for the controls. The bottom has a USB Type-C port. Along the top there are left and right shoulder and trigger buttons. In between those are the power button, volume buttons, a USB 4 port, Oculink port for connecting to an eGPU, and last but not least there is a 3.5mm headphone port. The GPD Win 4 series has been around for just over a year now, and I personally have spent a fair bit of time playing on them. The controls are spot on for me and are great for both modern dual stick gaming as well as retro gaming with the D-pad. The GPD Win 4 2024 features the AMD Ryzen 7 8840U processor. It's the latest in AMD's mobile processors and the first time we have tried one. It features the AMD Radeon 780M GPU which is the same as the previous generation. There may be a Ryzen 5 8640U model in the future as well. For RAM and storage there's 32GB of LPDDR5X RAM and up to 4TB PCI 4 SSD. There is also a possibility of a 64GB RAM model coming in the future. For communications there's Wi-Fi 6 and Bluetooth 5.2. It also has support for the 4G LTE module which is available to buy separately. Powering it all is a 45.62 Wh battery. In our tests whilst running Cinebench on the loop we got a good battery life of 1 hour 25 minutes, well above the average of the 7840U devices. Also whilst running Cinebench we checked the fan noise and thermals. We got a highest fan noise of 64 decibels and highest temperature of only 44 degrees C, very low temps. As this is the first 8840U device we have, we do not have any direct comparisons in terms of performance. We will be comparing with the 7840U based devices to see where there are performance increases. And as the Win 4 2024 has an Oculink port, we will also be testing it with the brand new GPD G1 2024 eGPU docking station. We start the benchmarks with PC Mark, which tests your day-to-day usage, everything from web browsing through to image editing and 3D rendering. We get a score of 7018, which is just ahead in the first place of the 2023 model. A decent score of course, so you can be sure that when not playing games it will also be great for other tasks. Next in our benchmarks is Cinebench, which tests the CPU single and multi-core performance. For single and multi-core performance we again see the 24 model take first place amongst these handhelds. There's not a massive difference in single core performance, but for multi-core there is a noticeable increase compared to the 7000 series. 3D Mark tests the performance of the CPU and GPU working together. We are running the Time Spy, Night Raid and Fire Strike benchmarks. For the integrated GPU we see ups and downs compared to the 7 series for the best performance. Overall the scores are good and on the higher end. For Oculink performance with the GPD G1, the Win4 2024 has the best overall scores for internal and external displays. No complaints there. We are running Forza Horizon 5 on the very low graphics settings. For the integrated graphics, we see great results at high TDP with a noticeable increase in performance over the 7000 series. The performance does continue as we lower the TDP until 5 watts, where it's mostly the same FPS as each other. With the GPD G1 connected, we see good scores for internal and very good for external displays. It's our first handheld and eGPU setup to get over 200 frames per second on Forza. For Shadow of the Tomb Raider, we see an excellent increase in performance over the 7000 series. There's around 10 frames or so difference until we lower the TDP down to 10 watts where it starts to balance out. With the GPD G1 we see good results, not quite the highest, the WinMax 223 is a few frames in front. For Street Fighter 6 we are running on the maximum graphic settings. This is a strange one as we see a mix of performance across different devices. The Win4 2024 has overall good scores but a few average ones as well. With the GPD G1 we see that at 4K the scores are very much the same as the other devices. It's definitely limited by the GPU here. One low score on the Fighting Ground benchmark stands out. We rerun twice and got similar scores, so it might be a driver issue. We are running Modern Warfare 3 on the minimal graphics with no FSR enabled. On the integrated GPU we see fairly similar performance to the 7840 CPUs. A few ups and downs but nothing stand out. The trend continues with the GPD G1. There are fairly similar scores across the devices with the Win4 2024 mainly taking the lead. With no other 8840U devices to compare to, we can see that overall the 8840U processors are at least the same or greater performance than the previous generation. With games that are GPU heavy, you won't see a massive difference between the 7 and 8 series. They are, after all, using the same 780M GPU. For games that require a bit more CPU performance, we do see some nice increases in performance. For example, on Forza we see a 7% increase over the Win4 2023 model, and as high as a 20% increase compared to the Win Mini 2023, both with 7840U processors. So depending on the games you're playing, you will at least see the same or varying higher increases in performance than the previous generation. We will now show a few games running with the best graphic settings and performance to keep it above 60 or 30 FPS where possible. All of the info is on screen so you can enjoy the game's audio. We will have more gameplay in our final thoughts part later in the review.
What are we after exactly?
The backup? Well, it's an AI. It's hard to explain. Think of it like a set of instructions that can fix the world. Unlocks.
Salvaging machine carcasses as usual. And there they go.
Okay.
The 7840U was awesome for emulation, and of course the 8840U is just as great. You will find improved CPU performance on older emulators that do not rely so much on the GPU. As a result, you can often lower the TDP a bit more than the previous generation to save even more battery life. For the more recent emulators that are reliant on GPU performance, you will not find a massive increase. Like when we tested the games, it will be the same or better overall than the previous generation. So let's take a look at a couple of newer systems.
Contender eliminated. Shield active.
Space is everything.
The GPD Win 4 2023 was one of my favourite handhelds last year. It is the most portable handheld out there and can actually fit in your pocket. The keyboard is not the greatest, but for its size it is functional for thumb typing. Having a keyboard on this size handheld does make it more convenient than using the on-screen keyboard and a 6-inch display. The display is as always great. The option of 40 and 60Hz provides an alternative if you want lower game performance to save battery life, for example. Personally, I stick to 60Hz, but 40 is there if you need it. Regarding the performance, we do overall see improved performance over the previous 7840U generation. This will vary between games whether they are CPU or GPU intensive or not. There are some nice improvements, and we may see some minor increases as the drivers improve over time, but probably not as much as we saw between, say, the 6 and 7000 generation. If you have not got a Win 4 yet, then this is the one to get. It has the best portability, great performance, very good low temperatures and decent battery life. And not forgetting the Oculent port, which has great performance with the GPD G1 and 1X GPUs.